The sun was setting over the Arizona plains, painting the land with a deep copper glow as the widowed rancher Samuel Boyd rode slowly toward his isolated homestead. The wind carried that familiar smell of dust, sagebrush, and distant rain, and he breathed it in with a heaviness that never truly left him. For 3 years he had worked this ranch alone after losing his wife to a fever that swept through the valley. Nights had been quiet, days long, and the ranch house echoed with a silence that weighed on him more and more with every passing season. As Samuel reached the last ridge before home, he noticed something strange. A towering silhouette stood near the barn, unmoving and watching the horizon. It wasn't the shape of a man, nor a bear, nor any animal he knew. It was too tall, too straight, too human. His horse, Jasper, snorted uneasily. Samuel tightened his grip on the reins and called out, "Who's there?" The figure didn't move at first. Then slowly it turned toward him. As the fading light struck her face, Samuel's breath caught in his throat. It was a woman of the Apache tribe, tall enough to stand eye to eye with the top beam of his barn door. Her dark braided hair reached almost to her waist, her shoulders broad and powerful, and her deep brown eyes shimmered with something between sorrow and determination. She stepped forward with the confidence of someone unafraid of anything in this world. "You are the rancher named Samuel Boyd," she said in a low, steady voice, her English clear but accented. Samuel nodded, his guard rising but his curiosity stronger. "That's right. And who might you be?" She looked at him for a long moment before answering. "I am Nyashka, daughter of Tall Elk, protector of my people." Samuel had heard legends of the women of her clan, rumored to be taller and stronger than ordinary folk. He never believed those stories until now, seeing her towering presence before him. "What brings you to my land?" he asked. She hesitated then, and for the first time Samuel saw a flicker of vulnerability in her eyes. "I have come because I am desperate for help, and because I am desperate for a man's warmth." Samuel's heart nearly stopped. He blinked hard, unsure if he had heard correctly. "Excuse me." Her face didn't change. She spoke again, slower this time, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm desperate for a man's warmth. Not only the warmth of body," she added quickly, "the warmth of kindness, of safety, of belonging." Samuel felt the tension in his chest soften, though he still watched her cautiously. "Why come to me?" "Because," she said, the wind carrying her words softly, "my people sent me away." Samuel felt the weight of those words settle in the air between them. "Sent you away? Why?" Nyashka lifted her gaze toward the mountains behind her. "I was meant to marry a warrior of our tribe, but he treated me with cruelty. He saw me only as a weapon, never a woman. When I refused to bind myself to him, the elders said I must leave until I could accept my duty. That was many months ago. I have wandered since, alone, hungry, and needing warmth that is not hostile." Samuel exhaled slowly, his guard softening. "Well, you're welcome to rest here tonight. I wouldn't turn away anyone in trouble." Her eyes softened with gratitude, and she bowed her head slightly. "Thank you." As they walked toward the house, Samuel noticed how carefully she moved, despite her size. She ducked under door frames and stepped gently on the wooden porch so her weight didn't strain the boards. She had the strength of a storm but the grace of a deer. Inside, Samuel lit a lantern, casting a warm glow over his simple home. Nyashka looked around quietly, absorbing every detail. The empty rocking chair, the dusty hearth, the framed photograph of his late wife on the mantel. "This was her home?" she asked softly. Samuel nodded. Her name was Caroline. Nyashka stepped toward the photograph and touched the frame gently. She was beautiful. Her spirit must have been kind. "She was," Samuel said, feeling the familiar ache in his chest. "You cared for her deeply." "Yes, I did." Nyashka looked at him with compassion. "Spirits do not ask us to forget those we lose, but they allow our hearts to grow again." He wasn't sure how to answer, so instead he brought her a plate of food. She ate slowly at first, then with growing hunger, as if she hadn't had a full meal in days. When she finished, she leaned back slightly and said, in a quieter voice, "I am sorry if my first words to you seemed forward. My people speak plainly. I meant no disrespect. Samuel shook his head. No disrespect taken. You've been through hell, from the sound of it. She looked at him with something unreadable. It's more than hardship that brought me to you. It is something I cannot explain easily. Try me, Samuel said, sitting across from her. Nyashka straightened, her expression serious. I have watched you from afar for many weeks, she confessed. From the hills, from the riverbanks. I saw you care for your land alone, work alone, mourn alone, and something in my heart stirred. Samuel froze. You were watching me. Yes, she said without shame. The spirits led me toward you. Each day my feet carried me closer. And each day my longing grew stronger, not only for warmth but for a home where I could breathe freely. Samuel swallowed, unsure how to respond. She continued softly, I do not seek to take the place of the woman you lost, but I seek a place where I can be seen as more than a warrior. A place where my strength does not frighten, where my loneliness can finally rest. Her words sank deep into Samuel's heart. Loneliness. He knew that feeling too well. He stood and motioned toward the hearth. Come sit by the fire. It gets cold at night. Nyashka followed him, sitting near the flames where the warmth washed over her like a long-forgotten comfort. She closed her eyes for a moment, breathing deeply. It has been many moons since I sat near a fire with another soul, she murmured. Samuel sat beside her, not too close but close enough to feel her presence. You said you needed a man's warmth. What did you mean exactly? She opened her eyes, meeting his gaze directly. I meant the warmth of being accepted, the warmth of sharing burdens, the warmth of not being feared. And yes, she added with a slow breath, perhaps the warmth of touch, if the spirits ever willed it. But not before trust. Never before trust. Samuel nodded. I understand. Do you? He asked softly. He looked into the fire. Maybe more than you think. My wife and I, we had a bond built on trust. On being partners, not just husband and wife. Losing her left a space that felt impossible to fill. I stopped expecting anyone could fill it. Nyashka listened quietly. But, he continued, meeting her eyes again, I won't pretend your presence doesn't stir something in me. Something I didn't expect to feel again. A faint warmth bloomed across her cheeks. It means a great deal to hear that. For a while they sat in silence, the crackling fire filling the room with gentle sound. The night deepened outside, and the wind brushed against the windows like a whisper. Nyashka looked at him again and spoke softly. Samuel Boyd, may I ask something bold? Go ahead. Would you allow me to stay on your land for some time, not as a burden? I can work. I can protect. I can help rebuild what storms or time have taken. In return, I ask only for shelter, and perhaps one day softness. Samuel studied her face carefully. She meant every word. She wasn't asking for charity. She was offering companionship, protection, and loyalty in exchange for a place to rest her wounded heart. Finally he nodded. You can stay. Her eyes brightened with relief and gratitude. Thank you, she whispered. You may not know it, but you've just saved me. They talked long into the night. She told him stories of her people, of battles fought and traditions passed down. She spoke of her father, Tall Elk, a respected leader, and of the pressure she felt to live up to expectations heavier than mountains. Samuel shared stories of ranching life, of the challenges of cattle drives, of the year he built the barn with his own hands. By the time they stepped outside to fetch fresh water from the well, the moon had risen high, casting silver light across the plains. Samuel walked beside her, feeling an unfamiliar sense of peace. When they reached the well, Nyashka paused and looked up at the sky. The spirits smile on this night. I can feel it. Samuel stood beside her, watching her strong profile in the moonlight. You speak a lot about spirits. They guide us, sometimes gently, sometimes fiercely, and sometimes they guide us to people we never expected to meet. She looked at him then, softer than before. Samuel Boyd, may I tell you the truth of why I said those words to you? The words from earlier echoed in his mind. I'm desperate for a man's warmth. Go on, he said quietly. Because I felt warmth from you before I ever stepped onto your land. A warmth that called me like a fire on a winter night. I feared I would scare you if I spoke too plainly. I feared you would send me away. He looked at her for a long moment. Then he stepped closer, gently placing a hand on her forearm. She stiffened at first, and used to gentle touch, but then relaxed. I'm not afraid of you, Nyashka. Her breath caught. You should be. I am strong enough to break a horse's neck. Strong enough to fight 5 men alone. Samuel shook his head. Strength doesn't scare me. Cruelty does. And I haven't seen a trace of cruelty in you. Her eyes shone with something raw and grateful. Slowly, she raised her hand and placed it lightly over his. Her hand was large, calloused, powerful. Yet her touch trembled slightly. You give me hope. Hope is something we both could use, he replied gently. They walked back to the house, their hands staying close but not quite touching again, each aware of the growing bond forming between them. Inside, Samuel prepared a guest bed for her by the hearth. But when he brought the blanket, she looked at him with uncertainty. Will you be safe with me near you, she asked. Samuel smiled a little. I trust you, and I think you need rest more than anything tonight. She exhaled slowly. Then she lay down, the fire warming her face, her eyes softening with peace she hadn't felt in years. Samuel watched her for a moment, then turned to go to his room. But he paused when he heard her whisper his name. Samuel Boyd. He looked back. Yes. Thank you. For giving me something I thought I lost forever. Place to belong. He nodded once. Get some rest. The night passed quietly, the fire crackling softly as both of them slept deeper than they had in a long time. In the morning, Samuel rose early, expecting Nyashka to still be resting. Instead, he found her outside already gathering firewood, carrying logs under one arm that would have taken him 4 trips to move. Morning, she said with a small smile. You work fast, Samuel said, impressed. I work to earn my keep. It is my way. Over the next few days, she proved true to her word. She repaired the old corral, hunted fresh game, and helped Samuel fix a collapsed fence after a storm. Her strength was unmatched, yet she moved with care and respect for everything around her. Villagers in the nearby town slowly began to notice a giant Apache woman working at the Boyd Ranch. Some whispered, some stared. A few muttered insults under their breath when Samuel came to buy supplies. One afternoon, a group of men confronted him outside the general store. You keepin' that giant heathen on your land, one of them growled. Folks are saying it ain't right. Samuel's jaw tightened. She's done nothing wrong. She's working hard and keeping to herself. Another man spat. She'll bring trouble. That kind always does. Samuel stepped closer, anger rising. Leave her be. She's under my protection. The men glared but backed off. Word spread quickly through the valley, and soon everyone knew the widowed rancher was standing up for the mysterious Apache woman. When Samuel returned home that day, Nyashka saw the slight bruise on his cheek where one of the men had shoved him. What happened? She asked sharply. Some men didn't like that you're here, he admitted. Her eyes darkened with fury. Did they lay hands on you? It's fine. I handled it. She stepped closer, her voice a low rumble. No one touches you because of me. No one. He reached out and touched her arm gently. It's all right. I'm not afraid of them, and I'm not sending you away. Her expression softened, and she looked down at him with something deep and unspoken. You would face danger for me. Samuel nodded. Without hesitation. She closed her eyes for a moment, breathing in sharply as if his words pierced straight through her armor. When she opened them again, they shone with emotion. Samuel Boyd, my heart is not used to gentleness. Confuses me. Frightens me more than battle ever could. He smiled a little. Same here. That night, they sat by the fire again, a little closer than the night before. The warmth of the flames wasn't the only warmth in the room now. Nyashka tucked her knees to her chest, her massive form curled gently beside him. I never thought I would find a place like this, she whispered. A place where I am not too much. You're not too much, he replied softly. You're exactly who you're meant to be. She looked at him then, her eyes searching his. And who am I to you? Samuel took a slow breath. Someone I'm glad fate brought my way. Her lips parted slightly, hope flickering in her gaze. May I sit closer, she asked. He nodded. She shifted nearer, her shoulder brushing his. Her warmth radiated through him, steady and strong. She let out a slow breath of relief, as if the simple closeness healed something deep inside her. Samuel Boyd, she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. This is the warmth I longed for. The warmth of being welcomed, seen, wanted. He looked at her. You are wanted here. Her eyes glistened, and for the first time he saw tears gather along her lashes. Then let me stay by your side, for as long as the spirits allow. Samuel reached out and took her hand gently, feeling her strong fingers curl around his. Stay as long as you want, Nyashka. The fire crackled softly. The night grew still, and in that quiet moment, two lonely souls found the warmth they had both been starving for. Not through desire, but through something far deeper. Understanding, trust, companionship, hope. And for Nyashka, the giant Apache woman who had been cast out by her own people, that warmth was everything she had been desperate to find.